This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Good morning, friends. In this business intelligence master program, this is our 8th session. Okay. In this session, we will see how to copy multiple files from blob storage to the blob storage. Example, I will place a multiple files in my input container. Okay. So all those multiple files, I want to move it into the output container. Okay. In this, we have a different scenarios we will see. So in today's session, we will learn first the different scenarios that we are going to cover today. So after we have seen all those scenarios, then we will see. I will just give you now like overview on CSV file, how the data will store it in the CSV files. Then I will give you overview on JSON file. If you are storing data in a JSON format, how data will look like. Okay, whether it's a readable or not. So remember, CSV and JSON both are readable, human readable formats. So we can able to open and see the data which is there inside these file formats. Next, we will see data flow diagram. Okay, how you are going to move data from blob input container to the output container. Then we will see estimations again. Then debug functionality, whatever we discussed again, same slides, prerequisites, required resources. Okay, with respect to the demo, same, create a storage account. I am going to create a storage account, upload files into storage account. Yesterday we uploaded file. Today we are going to upload files. Multiple files I am going to upload. Then I'm going to create a Azure Data Factory V2, and we need to create a linked service for blob storage via integration runtime, and create source data reference, create sync data reference. We need to create a pipeline, okay, to move the data from input container to the output container. Then we are going to debug this particular pipeline, and we are going to see how you can run this pipeline as well. And we have seen yesterday the debug history and run history both are saving. The main difference between run and debug is in debug you can able to set the breakpoint, and you can execute you can execute a partial pipeline, meaning in a pipeline if you have 10 activities, I want to execute first 5 activities to test my pipeline. So you can do that in debug mode, but if you're running pipeline, that you cannot control it. Okay, so we are going to see how to monitor these pipeline runs. Okay, so with respect to scenario, you see first scenario that we are going to cover is, let's say I have a multiple CSV files. Okay, I have a multiple CSV files in my input CSV container in blob storage. So now my requirement is all the CSV files I need to move it into the output CSV container. Yes, this particular scenario we are going to cover today. Next scenario is not only CSV. In my container, I have JSON, CSV, Parquet, Avro. There are multiple file format files I have in a same container. But I want to like separate all the file formats. Example, so I have JSON, CSV, Parquet, Avro, different file formats in a input container. Let's imagine in this input container we have different file formats. Now my goal is, or as per my requirement, I need to extract only .json, meaning only JSON files I need to extract and load it into the output container. Okay, how you can extract specific extension files from input container to the output container. This particular scenario also we are going to discuss. Then let's say you have again copy two types of files, JSON and CSV, from input CSV JSON container to output CSV JSON container as CSV file. Let's say this scenario is in a same container I have JSON and a CSV file. In a same container I have JSON and CSV file. My requirement now is, doesn't matter what is my source, whether it's a CSV or JSON, my output should be, when I loaded these two files into my output container, these two file formats should be converted into CSV, and I should be able to load these two files into the output container. Here we have a one JSON, one CSV. When I move these two files into output container, I am going to see these two files in a CSV file format, and content will be same. Whatever content we have in JSON, that will be converted into CSV format. CSV format file will be loaded as this. Okay, this scenario also will cover today. Next scenario we are going to cover today is, copy two types of files, JSON and CSV file from input CSV JSON container to output CSV JSON container as source format. What it means is, in a input CSV JSON container, in this folder, you have JSON file, CSV file. So in third scenario, what we were trying to do is, we are trying to convert this JSON file also into a CSV. But my fourth scenario, what it is saying is, I don't want to convert the file formats. If my source format is JSON, I need to load it into the output as this. If my source format is CSV, I need to load this particular file as it is into my output. So that's why JSON and CSV files from input CSV JSON container to output CSV JSON container as source format. What is your source format? You have a one file with the JSON format, another file with CSV format. When you load these two files into output CSV JSON container, I should be able to see the same format which it has in the source container. Okay, everybody is clear? So these are the four scenarios we are going to cover in today's session, because these scenarios are very important. If anybody is not able to understand any of this scenario, please let me know. I will explain once again, because without knowing your goal, you cannot work on that particular goal, right? So you need to understand what we are going to do today. So these are the four scenarios we are going to cover. Please, I request everybody, if you are not clear on any of this scenario, let me know. I will explain once again, because this is very important. Once you understand your goal, then only you can able to understand lab, whatever. Everybody's clear? If everybody's clear, please confirm with chat window. Parmesh, are you clear?
So first and second, tell me again.
Okay, first one and
Second.
okay. See, just imagine we have a blob storage. In blob storage, we have seen yesterday also, we will have a container. It's nothing but a simple folder. Let's imagine, please be in mute, okay? Let's imagine in a storage account, I have an input container and output container. In input container, I will upload a files CSV, customer.csv, okay, employee.csv. How many CSV files I have? Two CSV. Please be in mute once you ask. Okay. So you have a storage account. In storage account, you have two folders, input folder and output folder. In input folder, you have customer.csv, employee.csv. These two files which we have in input folder, I want to move them into the output folder. How you want to move? As it is. If source said employee.csv and next customer.csv. These two files I want to move to the output container. So that is your first scenario. Okay, your second scenario is, you have like customer.json, okay, next employee.csv, but now I want to move only employee.json into your output. Okay, employee.json and customer.csv. I have two files in my input folder, out of which I need to extract only specific file format. Example, .json file, that is nothing but employee.json file I need to extract from input folder and load it into the output folder. Okay, that is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
So I'm again telling in this particular session, if I see anybody is okay, fine. If you have any question, feel free to ask. But if you don't have any question, please be in mute. Okay, fine. I hope everybody is clear. Now let me move on to the next slides. Okay, next, can you explain again, Bharat? Bharat, what you are not clear out of four?
Yeah, you can explain the fourth one.
Okay, fourth one. Okay, I will explain fourth one. Fine. See, fourth one is very simple. Copy two types of file, JSON and CSV. Okay, same thing. You have a storage account. I have input folder, and I have a output folder. Okay. Now let's imagine in input folder, I have employee.json, customer.csv. Now, when I load these files into my output folder, I need to move these files as it is. Employee.json, it should go, and second file is customer.csv, it should go as it is, meaning same format. In third scenario, what we are trying to do, source side we have employee.json, customer.csv in input folder, right? These two files you are moving into the output folder with, you are converting that employee.json to employee.csv. When you move into the output folder in third scenario, input side you will have a employee.json. When it goes to the output container, it will become a .csv file. But in fourth scenario, that particular format will be there as is, .json only. File format will not change. Okay, clear?
Yeah, clear. Thank you.
Thank you for that. In a folder we can have both formats. Yes. So in a folder we can have a both formats. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Can you explain again? Okay, Bharat, you are clear, right? Okay, fine. I hope I answered all the questions. Let's move on. Azure Blob Storage, you know, right? This is what I'm talking about. You will have an account. In account, you can create a containers. Inside containers, you can upload the files. Okay, where these files available, in which blob, whether it's a like blob or append blob, page blob, where this file is located, that metadata you will have here. That we discussed again. So CSV file, we know, right? CSV is nothing but a comma separated value. CSV, it's nothing but your values will be separated with comma. Yesterday we have seen that. Okay. Each line of file is a data record. Each record consists of one or more fields separated by comma. So separator can be comma or pipe or tab. We discussed about all these things yesterday. So you can see each value is separated by comma. Not only comma, it is possible that you can have a pipe, you can have a tab, you can have anything. Okay, any delimiter you can use. Okay. Next, let's see JSON. JSON file. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Okay. JavaScript Object Notation is an open standard file format and data interchange format that uses human readable text to store and transmit data object consisting of attribute value pairs and array data type. What it means is, whatever data you have in JSON, this data will be there in a attribute value pairs. It's nothing but a key and value pairs. See, I will show you the data. You see, code is this one, description is this one, sort order is this one. So key is code, value is 2006. Key is description, value is 2006. Sort order is the key and one is the value. Code 2013, description is 2013. So 2013 means value, description is nothing but a key. So key value, key value. So whatever data you store it in a JSON, it will look like something like this. Okay, so you just compare. Here you see in JSON, you see column name is only one time you can able to see and everything is value. But in JSON, you see here, your column name is repeating code, colon, code, colon, code, colon, meaning this is a key. Key will repeat every time for each value. Okay, here also key is repeating every time for each value. Key is repeating every time for each value. Okay. It's a human readable. We have some formats like Parquet, ORC. Those are not human readable. You need to understand JSON and CSV. These are the human readable formats. We are able to see what content we have in this file and we are able to understand this data. We are able to read it. Okay. Clear? Now, so same thing. Let's say I have a blob storage. In blob storage, I have input container. In input container, I have a emp.csv. Next, I have a custard.csv. Okay, I have two CSV files that I want to move it into another blob, like same blob storage. In same blob storage, I want to move it into the output container. So for that, first create a linked service to the storage, then extract these two files. Okay, just refer reference to this particular input container. Okay, so reference is nothing but you are creating the data set. Next, what you want to do, I want to copy these two files. Okay, where you want to copy this data, for that you need to refer again where you want to load this data. That reference point is nothing but output data set. So if you want to refer another like output folder, you need to connect to the same storage again. Okay, so I am going to connect to the same storage again by using linked service. So only the difference is when you are moving data within a same storage, you can have a one linked service. If you are moving data between two different storages, then you need to create a two different linked services. We just talked about the next. So once you created and once you run the pipeline, what happened? It will place this emp.csv and cust.csv in your output container. Who is going to do all these things? Your Azure integration runtime is going to do. Who is going to manage all these things? Your Azure Data Factory is going to manage all these things. This is what I talked about. So we have a two files which has same format. This same format files, I will load it into the output container. It can be a like emp.csv or cust.csv, okay, or something emp.json, cust.json. So I can have a both JSON format, I can have a both CSV format, I can have both Parquet format. So what I'm going to do, I will take all the files and I will load it into the output container. Next scenario is we have a emp.json. This is JSON file, this is CSV file. Now as per my requirement, I need to extract only JSON file. What is JSON file here? emp.json here, okay, emp.json. Only this file I need to load it into the output container. I don't want touch cust.csv. I don't want to move this cust.csv file. That is our second scenario. Okay, so I will explain our third scenario now. You see, same, you have a blob storage. In this you have input container. In this you see emp.json you have and cust.csv. Now what I wanted to do, I want to move these two files as is emp.json and cust.csv into your my output container. Okay, for that again linked service, create a reference point. Okay, that is nothing but input data set. Use the copy activity to copy. Then you need to create a output data set. It's nothing but where you want to load the data. So this output data set will refer to the output container. Input data set will refer to the input container. So now if you want to place any file into output container, you need to connect to the storage account. If you have already existing linked service, you can use that. Otherwise you need to create a new one. Now you can connect to the like this storage and you can try to place a files in your output container. You see here what I have done. See here what I have done is emp.json, cust.csv. I have two files. These two files I converted into CSV. Okay, this is our third scenario. This is our third scenario where here emp.json, cust.csv, these files I converted into .csv when I loaded into output. But my fourth scenario, what it is saying is when I load these source files into my output container, my input container files, when I load it into output container, this emp.csv file I should be able to see as a emp.json only, because my employee file in source ID is JSON format. So when I loaded into output, I should be able to see only JSON format. That is our fourth scenario. Okay. Third scenario is you have JSON and CSV, convert into CSV both files. Whatever format source doesn't matter, output should be a CSV. Okay. Fourth scenario is saying whatever source format, same format I should be able to see in the output folder. Okay. So who is going to do all these things? Again, Azure integration runtime managed by Azure Data Factory. So now everybody's clear, friends, all the scenarios.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Malay, I have a question here. So
Tell me, sir.
scenarios wise, I'm clear, but the thing is no. So here we have only one container which contains two files. Am I right? Or is it kind of two different containers within the blob
See,
storage?
don't confuse. In input container itself, I placed emp.json and cust.csv. I created only one container source file. Just to follow this image, this diagram. Okay. In this input container itself, we have all the different files. So these are the different scenarios we will come across in real time. Because what happens by mistake, people might load the different file formats in the same folder, then immediately as a quick resolution, your team leader, your manager will ask you to separate all the file formats into different folders. All JSON files you load it into different folder, all CSV files you load it into different folder, they will say, or you just delete the all CSV files, they will say. But deletion that we are going to come up in the upcoming sessions. But in today's session, we are completely focusing on the copying data.
But still we can create two input containers, right, within the blob storage, as many as we can, or is it that only one input container can be created within the storage?
Can you come again? See, in a storage we can create as many containers as we want. We don't have any
Correct.
limit. Okay.
Yeah, that's what my question is. Yeah, thank you.
Next, Nagraj is asking why it is important to change the JSON to CSV. Very good. See, what happens is, let's imagine you are getting data in different formats. Okay, maybe from your source. Some people are loading data as JSON, some people are loading data as CSV, but you got the like all format files. So ultimately, before you process this data, you need to bring into a single format so that the processing will be easy for you. Instead of reading each file differently, like in a different format, what you can do is you can bring all this format into a single format. For that, what we need to do, if our input folder is having JSON, okay, if our input file is having CSV, we can convert into these two files, we can convert into either CSV or JSON. Only one format. We need to maintain these two files in a single format. Okay, but as we discussed, if you have a requirement where you just have to copy the files as is, if the file format is JSON, I need to load it as a JSON. If the source file format is CSV, I need to load it as a CSV. Okay, that particular scenario also we are going to cover today. Clear?
Hi, sir. I have one
Tell me.
question. Yeah, if we have more number of employee files like employee.json, employee.xml, employee.csv. So if you want to copy the file employee.json, for that time, which one will take first?
So in that case, what you need to do, you need to rename those files. You mean a very good question. Question is, if anybody is not able to understand, let me tell you. So you have a emp.json. In the same way, you have another format, emp.csv, emp.xml. So what he is trying to tell you is, if you have these many different files, when you convert into, when you load these files into output, what you are going to get? emp.csv, emp.csv, emp.csv. But with the duplicate files, you cannot maintain a duplicate records, right? Duplicate files you cannot maintain in your output container. I hope everybody is clear, right? See, let's imagine emp.json one file, emp.csv, emp.parquet, something like that. I have 3 files in my input container. These 3 files I am loading into output as a CSV format. Now what happens is it cannot maintain 3 different files. Okay, that's why it is going to overwrite. Let's say first time if you are loading JSON, what happens is it will like overwrite everything. It will fail. It will tell. So you are trying to load 3 files, but I cannot maintain 3 files as the name is same. It will throw error. Okay, in that case, still you can handle it. How you can handle is you need to handle the way like you need to change the name. How to change the names of the file when you are loading, that part we will see in the upcoming sessions. Okay, Murli, your question is valid, but that particular session I will take in upcoming sessions. Okay, so because for that what you need to do is you need to change the name. There is no other way. Otherwise you cannot change the file format. If you are loading the files as is, the file is .json, then load it as a .json. If the file format is .parquet, load it as a .parquet. There is no issue. If you are converting all these files into CSV, then it cannot maintain a 3 different files with the same name, right? So there will be a problem. It will throw error. In that case, we need to rename these files. Okay, good question.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you are converting, no Parmesh, you are converting these files. You are converting, when you convert emp.json to a CSV, what it will be? It will be emp.csv. Again, emp.park, if you convert into CSV, it is also going to become a emp.csv. So all these 3 names are going to be a same in your output folder. So that's why it cannot keep 3 different files with same name. Okay, fine. So we spend some time here. Let's move on. Now you see estimation. So for these three requirements, let's say copy multiple CSV files from input container to output container as CSV files, okay, or second scenario is where you have specific extension files from input container to output container as a specified file format. Example, you want to load these files, you have JSON, CSV, Parquet, you want to only pick all the JSON files and load it into the output container. That is also possible. Next, copy two types of files, JSON and CSV file. So you have two types of files in your input container, that is emp.json and cust.csv. These two files I'm loading into a output container with a CSV format. So in this case, your JSON file will be converted into CSV. Next, yeah, these three scenarios you are going to handle with a one pipeline. Okay, these three scenarios you can able to handle with a single pipeline with minor changes, very small changes that you need to make in a pipeline. But with the small changes, you can able to complete these three scenarios in a single pipeline. Okay, for this, how many linked services we need? For each storage, one linked service we need. As we discussed, we are going to move data from input container to output containers. Both containers are available in a single storage. So as per that, we can have a single linked service. How many data sets we need? One data set which will refer your input container, one data set which will refer your output container. So we need two data sets. Okay, so input container one data set, output container one data set. Total two data sets are we need. Okay, next, how many copy activities we need? One copy activity is required to copy data from blob to blob. We discussed how many pipelines, one pipeline, and why, what type of fire we need, Azure integration runtime. Okay, next. So next estimation is for this particular thing. Copy two types of files, JSON and CSV, from input CSV JSON container to output CSV JSON container as source format, meaning you have a emp.json, cust.csv. When I load these files into output container, I want to see as this. If my source file is emp.json, in my output also I should be able to see it as a emp.json. If my source side I have a file cust.csv, output side also I should be able to see cust.csv. For this, we need to create a separate pipeline because the way we handle this particular scenario is totally different. How many linked service? Same. So as we are moving data from input container to output container and both containers available in single storage, I can have a one linked service and I can have a two data sets because I'm moving data from input container to output container. Okay, how many copy activities? One copy activity. How many pipelines? One pipeline. What type of IR we are going to use? Here also we are moving data from blob to blob. Both are in cloud. If I'm moving data from cloud to cloud, what type of IR we will use? Azure integration runtime. Okay, next. Debugging functionality we have seen, we can execute pipeline in two ways, debug and triggers. And ADF debug functionality allows testing pipeline without publishing changes. Okay, we have tested this one yesterday. Okay, next. This functionality also allows setting breakpoint on activities which would ensure partial pipeline execution. As we discussed, we have 10 activities in a pipeline. I want to execute first 5 activities to test my pipeline. That is possible. You can create a breakpoint and you can do that. So maybe this particular thing we are going to do it tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Okay, we can practically see it because we are going to use multiple activities from tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Then you will see I will use breakpoints to execute only partial activities like partial pipeline. Few activities I will execute in a pipeline. Okay, run history will not be available, but we have seen yesterday this particular feature they have added. Debug run history is available now. Okay, I will change this particular point. Debug history is available now, but previously, like few months back, this particular option is not available. Okay, next example, in a pipeline, if you have copy activity, then stored procedure activity, you have two activities. We need to test my copy activity without executing. Okay, without executing stored procedure activity. So by mistake I kept with, but it's a without executing stored procedure activity. Then we need to create breakpoint on copy activity to control execution of stored procedure. Okay, same thing, whatever we discussed. Okay, we have copy and stored procedure activity. I don't want to execute stored procedure activity. I want to execute copy activity to test whether it's working or not. Okay, in that case, you can use this debug functionality and create the breakpoints. Okay, Next, prerequisites. We know we need to understand what is storage account, what is data factory, integration, runtime, linked service, data sets, activities, pipeline. Okay, so these are the things we should know if you want to understand today's session. Then required resources, storage account, and Azure Data Factory V2. These two are the required resources I'm going to create. Okay, that's all slides I have. But before I start with the lab, any questions, friends?
Sir, I have one question. Murli.
Yeah, tell me.
If we have the input container, we have CSV and JSON and Parquet, these three types of files. So which one will copy first? Is there any priority for picking copy operation?
There is no priority, it will pick randomly.
Okay.
So meaning randomly means those three files will copy parallelly. Remember, those three files will copy parallelly. So there is no sequential, which one will go first, which one will go second. So your question is valid. This question also very important. For that, we are going to see the next session, because there is a sometimes what happens is there will be some dependency, because once file 1 is copied successfully, then only I need to copy file 2. Without loading file 1, I should not copy file 2. So in that case, we need to copy one by one file sequentially. That we will see tomorrow only. Okay, in tomorrow session only we are going to see, not only these, tomorrow we will see how to like filter out. I have multiple files, but I want to move the files which has a name starting with cust. Okay, the files which has a name starting with Cloud Pandit, only those files I want to load. So such type of requirement, how we can move. So those things we will see tomorrow. Okay, specific files or whatever. Okay, dependency files, how to load everything, we will see tomorrow. Okay, very good, Murli.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Come here. It's a portal.azure.com. Shiva has asked one question. It's not clear. Is it possible fix with files to transform to output as this is? There is no fixed limit. You can copy as many files as you have, Shiva. Okay, from input container to output container. Okay, so first thing that we need to do, as I said yesterday, if I want to create two resources, I will open this particular Azure portal in two different tabs. Now come to first portal. First tab, just click on storage account to create storage account. Right? Let me create a storage account. Click add to create the storage account. We know, right, subscription we are using free trial, and I want to create a resource group. This is BI master program. BI master program. Click OK and come down. So this is my storage account name. You can say Cloud Monday. First, this is my storage account name, and I want this particular storage in East to West 2. And we know standard means HDD, premium means SSD. If you go with premium, you'll have multiple options. We discussed all these things. We have different types of storages. We have created storage V2 yesterday, day before yesterday we created with blob storage. Today let's go with storage general purpose V1. Okay, we talked about all these things: local redundance, geo redundance, read access geo redundance. This is nothing but a replications, like the copies of the data. In case if you lose one copy, you can have another copy. So you are going to have a data all the time, even though in terms of disasters and all those cases, you will not lose the data. You will have a multiple copies. Even if you lose one copy, you will have other copies available for serve your request. So we can leave networking blank, data protection. If you want anything, you can do it. If somebody is deleted by mistake, if you want to retain that particular data back, you can turn on this. See here, you can see recovery options. Okay, if you delete something by mistake. Security already enabled. Blob storage, allow blob public access. Do you want to allow everybody to access this? So it is already enabled. If you want to disable, you can disable it. For now, let it be. And see, data lake storage Gen 2 is completely not available. But yesterday we have seen you have an option to enable, but today you see it's completely disabled. The reason is data lake storage Gen 2 you can able to create only when you select storage version is V2. Okay, this thing we have discussed even in our day before yesterday session. Okay, remaining things, see, all these things are like disabled. You cannot select anything because these all available only for storage V2. Next, tags, we talked about tags, right? So if you have any tags, you can give here key value pay something. I don't want to give anything. Blanket, click review plus create. Leave them blank and click review plus create. It is going to validate all the details which you have provided. So if everything is fine, you can see validation passed, click create. Come here, let's click on data factories, click add data factory. Free drive, and resource group is this is the resource group, and I want to create a like data factory niche to us, but if you want to create in somewhere as we discussed, you can do that. Okay, let's say I want in east to west, that is okay. You can have a data factory somewhere else. We talked about this as well, right? The problem is we have a person who is working from US, he needs to copy data from India to Australia. It is very difficult. If you keep that person in Australia or India, it will be easy for him. At least he is able to see some data, right? So, but if he is completely remote somewhere else and he is doing work from somewhere else, right? So then what happens is it will latency will increase, meaning it will take more time. So that's why what you need to do, all your computer resources or whatever, you need to keep it in a same location where you have stored your data. Okay, this is your data factory name. You can say Cloud Pandit ADF V2. This is my version 2. We know, right? V1 is already decommissioned. You can leave that. Git configuration. So Git configuration, we are going to see in our upcoming session. For now, you can say configure Git later. It's nothing but a code will be pushed into the repositories. Which repositories? DevOps repo or GitHub repo. Click configure Git later. Networking, leave them blank. Tags, okay, leave them blank. Click review plus create. Okay, create it. So data factory is going to create. Meanwhile, go back to your storage. See, storage is ready. Click on go to resource. Click on container. So let's create two containers. It's a input. This is basically output container. Create. Okay, go inside input container. So I want to upload only CSV file. This time, first lab, I want to upload only CSV files. Okay, you see here, CP cust and cust underscore data. I have there are two CSV files I am uploading. We can open these files and we can view the data here itself. See here, some data came here. Okay, but I think okay, this is okay. We can have this data, no issue. See, only the problem is we don't have headers here. Okay, if you want to add headers here, you can simply add them here itself. Okay, these are your headers actually. These headers you can able to add here some new headers if you want. Okay, course name, okay, and the price. These are the column names. These are the header name, and this is my data. Okay. So you can upload a proper CSV file, but I have some issue with CSV file. I just edit it. Okay, if you can edit here. Okay, in real time you cannot edit because the file size is very huge. Okay, here I have small file and I corrected these changes. Okay, now you save this change. This is cp_cust.csv. Now I want to select custom_data.csv file. Click edit. See here, data is fine. Okay, but I will say here instead of persons, okay, you can say person. Here you can say age, and this is the name, and this is models. Okay, this is my header, this is my actual data. Okay, now just click save. So my data is proper. Now I have some CSV file. Okay, without proper also you can able to load, no issue. The only thing is I'm just keeping data proper format so that readability will increase. Okay, these two CSV files I have. Now you see, as a first lab, what I wanted to do is those two CSV files I want to load it into this output container. For that, come to Data Factory, go to Resource. Okay, then click on Author and Monitor.
So I have one question.
Okay.
For our practice purpose, no need to create a daily storage account and Azure Factory account, right?
Yeah,
If we
no need
created yesterday, we can use.
See, I will tell you, there are few people joining, or after some time, what happens is, why I will do all these things every day is basically somebody will randomly open the video. Example, let's say there are like 25 people. Out of 25 people, let's say only 5 people will try for job immediately. But some people, there are some students and other people, they will relax. They will say, okay, my job is good now, so I will look for the job after 6 months. Now, after 6 months, when they open, everything is new to them. So they will randomly open 6th video or some theory, but I don't want to touch. So randomly they open some video. So they will not be able to understand if I use the existing resources. That's why if I start in each session everything from scratch, it will be easy. If somebody missed the session, it will be easy for them to understand. Because if you have not attended yesterday's session, still you can able to understand today's. Okay, so there are multiple
Okay, sir,
reasons
thank you.
I will create, but when you are practicing, it's not mandatory. You can keep a one data factory, one storage, and in same storage and same data factory, you can practice everything.
And Malla, if you want to delete that data factory storage means directly we can delete the resource group also, no? Directly any
Yes,
problem like
yes. You can delete the resource group so that it will delete all the resources which you have in that particular resource group. Instead of deleting data factory and storages one by one, you can delete resource group. It will delete all the resources which are there under resource group. Okay,
okay,
fine.
thank you.
Now click on manage.
Malay, I have one more question here. So we selected the allocation type as blob storage, right? So as we discussed day before yesterday, like we have three types of blob storage, like blob and then append and then page, right?
You
Where
want to
that
see? I will show
does
you.
come?
I will show you. See, I will show you those
Yeah,
things if you want. Go inside. Let's try to upload a file. When you are uploading file, it will ask you so where you want to upload. Let's say in a blob type.
okay, okay.
Okay,
So
by default, it will
yeah,
load it in
by the
blob. If you want to select, you can select those things as per
got it.
requirement. Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
okay, fine.
And one more thing, we cannot modify once it is existed. I mean, once it is uploaded, right? But we did some edits here in the input container. So
That is data. I'm editing the data.
editing the data.
Hmm? Clear? Okay, friends. So we will take all the questions end of the session. That is good because we are kept here only. So just do one thing. So we will spend at least maybe I will stop the recording and I will take all your questions. Okay, after our session, maybe I will spend some 15 minutes. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, please put all those questions in your local. And if you think something is relative to this particular session and you should be able to understand this to understand further, then you can ask immediately. Okay, if something like these kind of questions, right, let's say blob types and all those things, those are not related to this particular session and it's not important for us to do this particular lab. So those questions you just keep it in your local. I will take all those questions later. Okay, fine. See, now you are in manage tab. Here first thing that we need to do is go to integration runtime and you see it's a basically Azure type integration runtime. Now click on linked service. Let's click new to create the linked service. Here it's a blob storage. We are connecting to blob storage. Is selected. Click continue. So we discussed about the naming conventions. LS Azure Blob Storage. LS linked service for Azure Blob Storage LBS. I am connecting through auto resolve integration runtime. That is nothing but a Azure integration runtime. I am authenticating through account key. Okay, you have different ways to authenticate. We will see one by one, but today I'm going with account key. And you can see subscription. How you want to identify your storage? You want to enter your storage details manually, or you want to identify through subscription? I want to identify through subscription. Okay, we discussed about this key vault. Key vault we will discuss in upcoming session, because this is the managed service where you will manage all your credentials. Okay, this is subscription. Under this subscription, you can able to see my storage. Now test connection. Other things are not important. We'll discuss till those things later. So connection successfully created. Okay, fine. Now come to author tab. We know. So like as sessions goes, I will go little bit fast. Okay. So we know already linked service. Now I am going to create a data set, blob storage. Click continue. So in what format we have files? In a CSV. Click continue. So you need to say it's basically DS. Okay, data set for Azure Blob Storage and multi CSV files. Okay, we have a multi CSV file, and you use this particular linked service. Okay, multi CSV files in source. You can say multi CSV. Okay, multi CSV, and you also need to say data set. DS is nothing but a data set for Azure Blob Storage ABS, and we are creating this for multi CSV. Okay, source multi CSV. You need to say source multi CSV. Okay, this is my data set name. So you select your container. Source container is import. Okay. So I'm not specifying particular file. I'm saying whatever files I have in this container, everything. That's why just selecting folder name, and first row as header. Yes. So when I am reading each file, in each file I have a headers. That's why I'm saying first row as header. Okay, click none. So if you want to import schema, no issue. Import schema is nothing but you are scanning data to identify the data type of columns. Okay, for now click OK. This is my source data set is ready. Now I need to create my sync data set. How to create sync data set? Click new data set and blob storage only. I want to load data as a CSV as this. Okay, this is nothing but what? This is nothing but your again DS Azure blob storage sync multi CSV files. Okay, use the same linked service, then you can browse it. So I want to load these files into output with the headers. I want to load with the headers. If you are not checking this, you will not be able to see the headers. Okay, that's why with the headers I want to write the data. Click OK. Okay, fine. Now I have two data sets. Now click pipeline. We know create pipeline. So what is how you will give the pipeline name? You know, right? PL. This PL data movement PL underscore data. Okay, I am moving data from DS underscore AB Azure blob storage source multi CSV to DS dataset Azure blob storage sync multi CSV file. Okay, you can reduce the name for your pipeline. Okay, but if you give like this, it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, what exactly you're doing. Fine. Now, what you need to do next? You just drag the copy activity. So you need to give the copy activity name. For that, do one thing, just click on this, take this name. So instead of typing every time, you can copy this name, go to your pipeline again. In this pipeline, I have a copy activity. This copy activity name, I will say something like this, copy DS ABS source, right? From source multi CSV to source multi CSV files to DS ABS sync multi CSV. Okay, this is my copy activity name. Okay, come to source. What is your source? Source is my, here you see source is this data set. What is your sink? Sink is this one. Now
Sir, you
one more.
entered wrong thing in general. So instead of store, so you entered out.
Okay, that is okay. Thank you. So now select this copy activity. See source. Source data set you selected. Sink side you have selected sink data set. Now come to source. What happens is when you so source side, what we have done? Source side you have selected only folder. So when you select a folder, you have to tell whether you want to pick all the files which you have in a input container, or you want to pick only specified files. So for that you have to select here wildcard file path. So wildcard file path means star means all the files, doesn't matter what type of file. But if you want to pick only CSV files, what you need to do, star.csv. But I will say all the files now, just to put star. Star means all the files which I have in my input container, I want to load it into a my output container. So for that, only modification that you need to do is you need to put star here. Now you can simply click debug. Debug is nothing but a without publishing changes, you can run your pipeline. Click debug. See, pipeline succeeded. Go to your storage. Let's go to your output container. See, two files came. The size you can see 273 bytes and 100 bytes. Even if you go to input, you will see same 100 bytes and 273 bytes. File size is same. Clear. First one is clear, right? So we have a CSV. We have loaded all these multi CSV files into our output. Now I am going back to output container. So I will just delete these two. It is very important. Now you focus on this. I deleted all my files in my output container. I am going back to input container. In this, I will upload my JSON files now. Let's upload all these 5 JSON files. See, I have a JSON CSV combination. Okay, now I want to pick only JSON files. I don't want to like pick the CSV files. I want to pick only JSON files and load it into output container. For that, come to like pipeline. Only one change that you need to do. Here, instead of putting star means all files will go. Now I want to pick only JSON files. Okay, or let's say in this case also, let's put only star.csv. Only CSV files I want to load. Okay, only CSV files I want to load. Star.csv. Okay, now let's debug again. Now you see only you will get a CSV files. Only you will get a CSV files into your output. Okay, now we go back to our storage. Specific files. Okay, specific files we moved into our output container. See, CSV files only came again.